I'll begin with the statement by Senator Hazena on the illegal mining activities. I condemn in the strongest terms possible that these activities are being done mainly by the government agencies, the people who have been charged with the responsibility to protect these assets. Because anybody going in there will not be allowed. So the scam is inside the ministry, and it needs to be addressed from inside, and those culpable to be taken to task. Because you cannot afford to have government agencies who are charged with protecting assets being the ones despoiling these assets. And so I strongly support that. And Kenya is generally a water-scarce country. We can hardly meet our water needs. And so playing around with water towers, playing around with minerals is not allowed by the law, and that law should be enforced. Let us have proper protection of the environment and our natural resources. I also would like to comment on the statement by Senator Kwabubi on the Women's Day. First of all, I want to thank her very much for having used the word gender principle and not the word gender rule. The word gender rule was smuggled into our legal framework by the Supreme Court of Kenya in a very, very shameful ruling that it made, and that has been the cause of confusion that a principle was converted into a rule, and we have had a problem. The women problems in this country are tied even to access to things like energy. The other day in my constituency, in my county, I encountered very many women who had eye problems, sight problems. Their sights were failing. And when they were taken to the doctor, they were told that the cause was using firewood for cooking.
Okay. Senator Mutinda Tabina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me first appreciate my two colleagues, Senator Chair of KEWOSA, Senator Veronica, and also Kwabubi, for these two great statements in regards to International Women's Day, and in advance wish all women a beautiful International Women's Day, and also congratulate all the women in this house who have really made it to this particular house on matters leadership. I continue to congratulate, and I continue to urge that we continue championing the issues of women, many that have been mentioned, the issues that we've been talking about in terms of matters FGM, early childhood marriages, that cut across very pertinent issues. But I want to state today, Mr. Speaker, as I've always said earlier, the girl child has been really so much empowered, something that we appreciate because we focus, but we've really left the boy child behind. I would love that the theme for Women's Day this time round to be how now to bring the boy child to that standard, because the boy child in the market today, in the space today, is not in a position to be able to reach the standard of the particular woman in the society who has really been very much empowered. And I want also to add that I had one of the senators, Senator Faki, talking about that as women senators, we need to move across the country. I want to state that we have been moving across different counties. Just last year, as we were closing the year, through the chair, we went to the great county of Busia. We did a lot. Even during the Senate Mashinani, we were able also to do a lot from our own personal initiatives, and also supported by the Senate clerk. And quickly also to touch on Senator Hamida's statement in regards to this student of grade 10, Ms. Samira Ali, who had been denied his religional rights of wearing the hijab, Mr. Speaker. It is wrong. It's unconstitutional. There's freedom of worship. Sorry. And I think the PS categorically, PSB talk, was able to state that this student should not be denied her rights to be able to attend school, and also adhering to his religion requirements of wearing hijab. And I mean, we've been across schools.
Senator Kibwana Minda Hali.
Asante Bwana Spika, yangu ni machache tu. Nataka kumpongeza Senator Veronica na Senator Koni kwa kwa kuzungumzia, kwa kuleta mjadala ya mambo ya wanawake duniani. Kusema kweli, wanawake nitaweza kuanza kusema wanaweza, na wameonyesha na wamekaa kidete kuonyesha kuwa hata hapa kwenye seneti kuwa tunaweza. Nakumbuka hii KEWOSA tulipoanza, mimi nikiwa mwenyekiti, tulianza na wanawake kuwasaidia wale wafungwa walikuwa wamefungwa kwa miezi michache. Tuliweza kuwasaidia kuwatoa wamama wale walikuwa na watoto pia wachanga, na tuliweza kutoa wanawake karibu 180, na hiyo kusema kweli ilikuwa ni mafanikio makubwa kwa KEWOSA na kazi zingine pia. Na nashukuru Senator Veronica kuwa ameendelea kuonyesha kuwa nafasi ya wanawake hapa seneti ni kubwa kwa KEWOSA na kwa kazi ile anaendelea nayo. Wanaume hapa Bwana Spika, wakikosa tu wanawake kidogo hapa seneti huwa wanaanza kuwatafuta. Hii ni kuonyesha kuwa nafasi yetu wanawake hapa imekuwa, tumechukua nafasi kubwa. Kwa hivyo nashukuru, na hii mambo ya 2/3 Bwana Spika, ni kuwa nitasema bado iendelee, kwa sababu unaona nafasi ile wanawake wamechukua hapa seneti imekuwa kubwa. Na nakubaliana na Senator Faki kuwa sisi wanawake wale tuko kwenye delegates tuende mashinani kwenda kuwasaidiana na wanaume kwa constituency kuweza kusaidiana kufanya kazi muhimu ya kujenga taifa. Tumejaribu sana wanawake hapa pia, ukiangalia statement, ukiangalia bill kwa Kiswahili Bwana Speaker sijaweza kufafanua inaitwa nini, lakini kazi pia hapa kwa wanawake.
Last but not the least, Senator Newtuber, as we now go to the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I also rise to make a comment or two. First, on the statement by Senator Andrew Omtata, the Senator of Kenya from Busia County, on these recruitment agencies for jobs abroad, Mr. Speaker. This is a matter of national importance, and I'm particularly concerned that no less than the CS for Labor, Mr. Speaker, has led these recruitment drives. And I personally was able to finance some 2 young men who needed to get jobs as drivers, Mr. Speaker. And this was an opportunity that had been announced by the Ministry of Labor. To this date, and that was 2024, the young men are yet to get any job, Mr. Speaker, in spite of the fact, or despite the fact that they spent huge amounts of money on medical tests and many other things, passports and everything, Mr. Speaker. So I think it's a matter that the committee should look into with a lot of seriousness, because we cannot afford people to actually carry out fraudulent recruitment with the blessings of the minister, Mr. Speaker. And I would wish that the CS would come before the committee and talk about that particular incident, Mr. Speaker, because we cannot exploit already suffering Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the statement by Senator Hamida Kibwana on a student who was not allowed to wear a hijab. We have the freedom of faith and religion in our constitution. And this is a matter that has been there before. I remember there was a case at Kenya High School one time. And the court ruled that students should be allowed to wear their religious outfits, Mr. Speaker, because schools cannot be allowed to have the power to regulate what religion students that join their schools will adhere to, Mr. Speaker. So I think this is a matter that needs to be made very clear, and the Minister for Education should also come in and remind the principals that they do not own these schools, and these schools must respect the freedom of worship for every other student. And Mr. Speaker, I want to believe.
Okay, very well. That's the end of the statement, comments on statements. We'll go to the next on the clock.
Order number 8, the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bills number 12 of 2024, resumption of second reading, resumption of debate interrupted on Wednesday, 4th March 2026, afternoon sitting.
This is the resumption of debate which was interrupted on Wednesday yesterday, and Senator Perez Tobiko, and a balance of 10 minutes. So you can proceed and prosecute your contribution.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I was contributing to the issue of the culture bill yesterday, I had mentioned a number of issues. Mr. Speaker, I was referring to the Maasai culture, and I said we have a very rich culture, Mr. Speaker, a culture that has transcended almost into the national sphere, Mr. Speaker, because many Kenyans right now are using the Maasai dress as a national dress, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had also mentioned that the Maasai community has cultural events that are recognized by the United Nations. I mentioned one of them being Enkipata, where boys, as they prepare to be initiated into manhood, Mr. Speaker. It's a very huge event, Mr. Speaker, and has attracted a lot of attention worldwide. I had also mentioned, Mr. Speaker, that we have a Unoto, which now the young Morans get transit into young adults, young elders, Mr. Speaker. And finally, we have another one called Olngesher, Mr. Speaker, where now the elders do retire into, if I may use the Swahili word, wazes, almost like retiring from active involvement in community issues apart from advisory, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, let me also mention that communities have common ancestry. And in that common ancestry, Mr. Speaker, it gives people a sense of identity, a sense of belonging. And Mr. Speaker, it also gives people a sense of pride, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the Ma community, and I believe also in many other communities in this country, we have clans. And clans are meant, as part of the order to organize the community in certain aspects. And Mr. Speaker, although at the moment, a number of people have used clans politically, but that should not be the case. Clans were meant, to organize the society so that you can marry from a certain clan. You cannot marry your sister or your brother from you within your clan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, clans were meant to be able to assist when a member of the clan needs assistance, communal assistance, Mr. Speaker. And so we have very good cultures and traditions that needs to be protected. Of course, there are harmful traditions that we need to let go, Mr. Speaker. In this house, people have spoken about FGM. These are some of the things that are not helpful at all, and we must let go, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to tie my contribution to the issue of the International Women's Day, Mr. Speaker. And let me take it on the floor of this house and really be proud of my community, because we have come a long way, Mr. Speaker. The Ma community, Mr. Speaker, has given women a chance in leadership. it is viewed as one of the very conservative communities. But I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, as conservative as we are, our men, our women, our young people have respected their women leaders. Mr. Speaker, the Ma community today can pride itself as a community that has elected women in single constituencies, Mr. Speaker. Not just for the women representative seats, Mr. Speaker. In fact, today, Mr. Speaker, if you tell me to go for the women representative seat, I will not go for it. Because yes, I will not. Because my community has given me a chance to contest against men in a constituency, and I have won. Not once, not twice, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, and after my election, being the first who was elected, the Maasai community has elected 3 other women. Naisula Lesuda in Samburu West, Sarah Lekorere in Laikipia North, and Agnes Pareyo in Narok North, the seat that used to be held by the Maasai kingpin, Mzee Olendimama. I mean, the Maasai community has moved and made strides in terms of giving women an opportunity, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, when I hear people say, oh, you know, Maasai women cannot elect a woman governor, who said that? My community has been electing women, and they will elect women governors. They will elect a woman president. You know, they value their women, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also take this opportunity to correct a notion that has been there, you know, in the Kenyan society about our culture. You know, I hear people, since the time I was in school, since actually high school, I used to hear people say, oh, you know, you Maasai women, when a man comes to put the spear outside, then now you belong to every man who brings a spear. That's not true. That's not true, Mr. Speaker. This culture was meant to give a visitor, you know, his position in society. You will identify, Senator Cherargei, that your age mates, when you come to the community, you'll ask about your age mates. Then you'll be shown that's the house of your age mates. Not to go and take his wife, but so that you are given accommodation, you're given food. No, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, let people not try to explain traditions and cultures that they don't know. Mr. Speaker, that is why in my community, we don't have street children, because everyone gets accommodated in the society. That's even the poor. You will not meet a Maasai poor man or woman in the street, because we have a way of taking care of our own. We take care of our poor, we take care of our young, we take care of each other in the categorizations that society has given to accommodate everybody. We take care of a visitor when you come, because we will place you somewhere. Mr. Speaker, I seek to support. Thank you very much.
Very well. You know, I was really enjoying that Maasai culture and what women do. When I thought you would be asking for some more time, I was tempted even to give you more time to listen to that story. But then let's now listen to Senator Maina Veronica.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance to speak into this very interesting bill, the Culture Bill 2024. And I want to really thank the originator of this bill. I see it initially came from the National Assembly and now has been adopted by our majority leader. I think it's a brilliant bill. I am even actually surprised that it took us this long to draft this Culture Bill 2024. Honorable Speaker, I am surprised because if there is anything that Kenya would have needed even before this bill was enacted, this would have been the bill that we would have needed. And why do I say so? Because, Honorable Speaker, if you look at Kenyans, they are very proud of their cultures. We disagree on certain things about how we deal with the tribes, but every grouping is very, very proud of their culture. And Mr. Speaker, using this bill, if we had the geniuses who have drafted this bill, the same genius should show Kenyans how we can draw some economy out of this bill. Because if there is something we have not utilized in this country, is the beauty of the cultures that are in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, if I could remind you, and to avoid being too selfish, because I'll come back to the Kikuyu culture, let me begin with the Turkana culture. And I want to thank the Senate for having the program called Senate Mashinani, because that Senate Mashinani program made me get to Turkana County, where I came face to face with the beautiful culture of the Turkana people. Honorable Speaker, if you remember the dances that we saw in Turkana, and I was amazed by the dress code that we had in Turkana, and I believe you are one of the people who are dressed with the regalia from Turkana, which was so beautiful inside the county assembly that I loved the belt, I loved the attire, the beading that was on that attire. It would be very shameful, Honorable Speaker, if such a dress, the Turkana dress, is phased out until our children are not able to see the dress that has emanated from the Turkana people. Honorable Speaker, the dances that were produced in Turkana, I later learned when I inquired that they always win the music competition in the whole of the Republic. And it brings out such a beauty, the beading that is done by the Turkana women, Honorable Speaker. I do not even think Turkana beads and necklaces should be compared to any of these beads and necklaces we get from the top shops in New York or in London. I think Turkana would have a much more superior brand than what we receive out there in the Fifth Avenue styles and fashions or Paris styles and fashion. And when we come down to the Maasai culture, we still find the same beading culture, weaving, Honorable Speaker. 2 years ago, or 1.5 years ago, I had the great opportunity in Murang'a County to support the women that do the kiondo in Murang'a, the older women who are weaving the kiondo and who are making sure that the kiondo has not become extinct or has not been taken away by the Chinese modernization and factories, Honorable Speaker. You look at the kind of art that these women come up with and see the baskets that they are weaving, Honorable Speaker, there would be no reason in the Republic of Kenya to even have one single supermarket selling a paper bag to any Kenyan. Ideally, all of us should use that basket, Honorable Speaker, which we gathered about 2,000 women who had weaved very beautiful baskets with all kind of tapestry, Honorable Speaker, and made very superior baskets to what we see as paper bags being sold, even plastic paper bags that are being sold in the supermarket. So it's high time, Honorable Speaker, that we made use of this bill to ensure that the culture, the art, the language, the beauty of everything that has come around ecological space, geographical space, the common ancestry that has been defined as the community is utilized towards making sure that our culture pays back for the richness that it has displayed in terms of beauty, in terms of uniqueness, in the giftings that God has given to different African people to be able to manifest such gifts and such a rich culture. Honorable Speaker, we are aware that we have had tourism supported just by tourists coming, international tourists coming to see who are the Maasai people. What is the Maasai culture? How do they live? How does a manyatta look like? How does a dingira look like, Honorable Speaker? I believe with this legislation, we should be able to support existence of a culture that is strong, a culture that is respectful, and a culture that makes a difference to the livelihoods of the people within our continent and even within our nation. Honorable Speaker, it is a sheer pleasure for me to read the interpretation section of this bill. That is in section 2 of this bill. And it provides this. Art means the physical manifestation of the internal creative impulse influenced by culture and expressed in the forms of literature, performing arts, culinary arts, media arts, or visual arts. And then, Honorable Speaker, it goes down to say cultural property means property which on religious or secular grounds is specifically designated as being of importance for archaeology, prehistory, history, literature, art, or science, and which belongs to the following categories: rare collections, products of archaeological excavations, elements of artistic or historical monuments, buildings and architectural designs, objects of ethnological interest, original works of art and engravings, rare manuscripts, archives, articles of furniture, and musical instruments. And it has also defined cultural heritage and defined it as tangible cultural heritage, including movable cultural heritage, immovable cultural heritage, and underwater cultural heritage. Maybe, Honorable Speaker, this bill is going to put sense in all of us to know that there shouldn't be much progress or any achievement in condemning buildings that are so old sometimes and that carry the history of a people. So that, Honorable Speaker, we must retain certain artifacts, certain buildings, certain architectural designs, the way you see it in Rome. When you go to Rome today, Honorable Speaker, there are certain architectural designs you will find today. And when you are given the date of that building, you will be wondering how the men of old and how those architectural designers of those age managed, Honorable Speaker, managed to sustain and even design a building to a level which can compete effectively today with our current architecture. And maybe culture is a way that we will also discover God in the creation. Because when you see what was designed in Rome, maybe 200 or 300 years ago, you will be shocked to compare the architects in those days and the architects in today's world. And that is when you'll be able to see clearly God had really given them a gifting, and that gifting could even have been more superior than what we have today. And hence the need for us to preserve the cultures and the architectural facts to prove that nature can gift human beings in such a marvelous way, Honorable Speaker. And we know, Honorable Speaker, if we allow the destruction of this cultural heritage and cultural artifacts, we will never be able to glance into the history of the past. And I remember, Honorable Speaker, a visit we made to the Danish Parliament, Honorable Speaker, and there was a painting on the wall which was shown and could not be removed, Honorable Speaker. When we were given the story of the painter who did that building, we were told that the painter, when he was asked to paint the Parliament then, he gave one condition, that as long as they accepted that that painting would not be removed from Parliament, and they signed a contract to that effect. And because they understand contractual obligations, he proceeded to paint. Unfortunately, what he did, he went and painted little snails, little snakes, little frogs, little animals who are not necessarily very interesting animals. When they came around to inspect the building, they noticed in the painting there were snakes, animals, and when he was questioned why he had done that, and they wanted to withdraw the contract, he said, because the people who work in this building are very much like the animals I have painted on this wall. And because you signed a contract, you cannot remove the snails, you cannot remove the snakes, and that stands as evidence of the work, the artwork that was done many thousand years ago, hundreds of years ago in the Danish parliament, Honorable Speaker. And it shows the creativity that was then there and the comparison, the literature of how that artist compared politicians to then over 300 years ago and how they compare today. Honorable Speaker, I want to congratulate the mover of this bill, Honorable Speaker, because of the genius that is in this bill. And I want to say this about the Republic of Kenya. There are many cultures. Every time I attend a Rorashio function in Kikuyu land, it amazes me the dress code that is worn, the instructions that are given to the young man and the lady who is getting married, the kind of rituals or rites that they go through over that season or over that function, Honorable Speaker, speaking into the past. And I would want to single out one culture that we need to emulate and even retain within our republic, Honorable Speaker. The African culture came with a lot of honor. One of the things that I have not seen emulated in this bill or restated in this bill is the culture of honor. If you could ask me one item that I would want retained and protected by this bill, for me I would say, for the young people and the older, even the older people, we need to find a way of amending this bill to say we want to retain a culture of honor. Because we know the African culture had this tradition. They honored the elders, and the elders knew their place, and they did the right thing. They gave them so much honor that long time ago, Honorable Speaker, when I was very young, if I boarded a matatu and I had a seat, and an older person walked in and could not manage to hold themselves to that, you remember that place we used to hold? Honorable Speaker, I would cede my seat to the older person to take up that seat. That culture of honor, unfortunately, is gone. You will find a pregnant woman queuing somewhere. She's the last in the queue, and nobody is giving her that culture of honor to give her precedence in that queue. If there is a way we can introduce that specific clause so that we can say it's official, let's retain the culture of honor, let's retain cultures that are useful to the people of Kenya, I would believe it would be the right thing to do so that we are able to tell the world that if you want to understand the culture of honor, even honor to our elders, honor to authority, honor to the schools, Honorable Speaker, if we retained that culture, you would have fewer schools burning. You would have older people, fewer older people complaining about their children and their young ones. You would have less fights in the families because the pecking order would be very clear. So, Honorable Speaker, I also want to speak about cultures that are harmful. In this day and time, when we are just about to celebrate the International Women's Day, we must also admit there are some cultures within African setup which are very harmful. Maybe we need to mention the FGM, female genital mutilation, cultures that are harmful, cultures that put women in jeopardy, cultures that are grievous, cultures of hurting women and children. Those are not even cultures. Those are acquired behaviors that have gone overboard, Honorable Speaker. And we want to say any culture, even the one I hear, people saying wife beating, and Honorable Senator Okiya Omutata could give us more light into this, that some cultures somewhere within the Republic of Kenya, they say to prove that you love your wife, you have to slap her or beat her or do something like that. Those are cultures that are not acceptable, and nobody should vent such a culture in the name of this cultural bill. So this cultural bill should define the do's and the don'ts. And any culture that demeans, indignifies, any culture that pushes women to the corner, that is not acceptable, and we will not allow anyone to trend it as African culture. Let me remember this lady in Kisii and who went for the funeral of the husband whom they had separated with. And she did an honorable thing to take her children to go and give the father of these children a befitting final rites. She went there, and when she got there, somebody insisted that she had to fulfill a certain culture of throwing soil into the grave. And when she declined to do that, you remember the videos that circulated. She was chased into the bush. She was beaten up. I think they almost wanted to bury her. The chiefs were there. The administration was there. The church was there. It was a very shameful, shameful culture to purport to perpetuate. So we want to say, when this bill is enacted, we do not want to hear cultures that are oppressive to women, cultures that will not indignify women, being vended that this is how women should behave, or this is how women should act. And we are not refusing cultures that are correct, cultures that are good. We want to bring out the art. And we want to also tell the international community, if you want to know where the first human being was discovered, it's in the Republic of Kenya, in Turkana County. So if you haven't visited Kenya, you are yet to see where your forefathers came from. And we welcome you to Kenya, a country with rich culture, a country with lovely people, a country with warmth of hospitality, best cuisines within the African continent, the gateway to East Africa, and the best nation to begin visiting in the continent of Africa. This is where you find the blend of African culture in all its beauty, elegance, warmth, hospitality, and a welcoming spirit. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to support this bill and to ask the mover of this bill to ensure that we have entrenched the culture of honor so that our country can go to a different level and we can protect the good that is in the African culture and discard anything that is retrogressive. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Next is Senator Okwaiti Andrew from Tata.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity yet again to contribute to this bill on culture. It is an important bill, and I congratulate the sponsor of the bill. However, I would pray that the bill be expanded to the modern days. Culture is the way people give meaning, the way people understand their environment, the way people operate in their environment, the way people live. In my constituency, at Kakapel Hills, in Teso North, we have got the prehistoric cave paintings, the only ones that have been known in this part of the world, in those caves. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, when you go to that cave and you look at these prehistoric cave paintings, you will notice that the people were reproducing their way of life at the time. They were reproducing the animals, whatever they were doing at the time in those prehistoric days. They have got symbols that are yet to be deciphered that are in those rocks. And I want to look at that aspect of culture, not as an invitation to look at the past, but an invitation to engage with the present and to look at the future. Clearly, I want to look at science and technology as a core component of culture. Today, much as it's impressive to look at the past, to look at the traditional dances, to look at all those things, and traditional and indigenous knowledge, we need to embrace science and technology as the cornerstone of our culture today. When the people who come maybe 200 years from down the line will look at us, they must see in us the capacity to survive and to have engaged effectively in the global economy. Culture should not be a question of traditional dances, a question of traditional dress, or traditional food, and other museum pieces. culture should go beyond the museum and embrace the modern world, the current challenges that we have. So what kind of culture are we going to endanger? Or to engender, or not to endanger, but to engender with this bill? I would pray that the bill goes beyond inviting us to look to the past and to look at how we are engaging with the modern day. It always hurts me. Much as I'm a playwright, I'm a published playwright, I've written many plays which are published, but I am not happy that other than the National Drama Festival, we do not have an equivalent that draws a similar attention in science and technology. I would like to see science and technology becoming the culture of this country, whereby we move away from magic and superstition and take on ourselves a culture of weights and measures, of prediction, of interrogation, of inquiry, so that we can carve ourselves a space in the modern world. I wouldn't celebrate Majimaji rebellion, where people say that bullets could turn into water when they do some dances. I would not celebrate that, because it resulted in their being crushed and killed. Culture should give us the capacity to produce those guns, to produce the capacity to master the elements of nature and harness them in such a way that we solve our problems. So I would request that the sponsors of the bill expand it to make our understanding of ourselves, our engagement with the environment and whatever, not just an invitation to celebrate our past that may be glorified or not, but it must be an invitation to carve out a niche for ourselves in the global world of today. We must anchor science and technology at the center of our experience. When I look at the cave paintings in Kakapel, I look at the technology of making ink that can last all those generations. I look at the technology of painting that those prehistoric people had. So that in the absence of science and technology, of the modern challenges, of engaging with the modern challenges through science and technology, we might find that we are inviting ourselves to celebrate a past that, beyond telling us where we came from, may not be telling us where we are going. So, our culture today, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a culture where we are using smartphones, we are driving vehicles, we are doing kidney transplants, we are engaging in so many things that rely on science and technology. And unfortunately, of all those things, maybe 99% we consume without contributing to their production. Just as I look at the people who lived in the Kakapel Hills, when they painted their environment, what they were doing, how they were surviving, today, if I was to go on a hill and paint my experience for posterity, I might lack much to paint that is original in terms of my own experience. If I paint a smartphone If I paint a pair of glasses, if I paint, whatever I paint, the science and the technology in those things will not be something I own. So I would love that this bill on culture, we expand the understanding of culture as being a way of engaging with our environment in the modern times. And if you have to look behind, we look at the past, we look at the past to learn about engaging with the future, about conquering the environment, about, or rather not even the word environment, maybe the better word would be ecology, about existing properly in our ecology. And so, Mr. Speaker, sir, I plead with the move of the bill to expand its scope, to revise it, important as it is. It's inviting us to look back without challenging us to look forward. As we look back, we must look forward. We must create a culture of producing what we consume. If you have to learn anything from the past societies, is that they were virtually not dependent on others. So consuming what we produce, our autonomy, our ability to manage our societies, our ability to engage and conquer our environment, and maybe to participate effectively in the ecologies that we find ourselves in, so that we don't look at culture as something that is caught in a time warp, like we are looking at a movie of the past, or we are engaging in a play of the past. I would like to see that we create sustainable economies. We create a culture of rule of law, obeying the law, being stable. If we look at our African traditional religions, and we are told that the purpose of morality was to create a ritually neutral society, a society that did not need rituals to survive, a society that could allow life to be transmitted, then we must come back and ask ourselves, how are we running our modern states? Is the Kenyan state, is the culture within the Kenyan state a culture that allows life to thrive, or is it a culture of death? What values are we imparting in our society, right from the school, the curriculum, and what have you, so that if we are able to develop a society whereby we want to make the rule of law supreme, to ensure that we can procreate and pass on life, then we must be beginning to engender a culture of consequences. And let us go, if we have to look into our traditional societies, let us look at what values there were and how we can borrow them for the modern world. But let us not look at our culture in terms of our past cultures and celebrate them just in terms of attire, in terms of music, and in terms of other things that we look at and wonder about. If it's going for indigenous knowledge, let us invest in that indigenous knowledge. Let us modernize it. Let us bring science to engage, science and technology, to engage with those hubs. And we are able to produce tablets and capsules. And we are able to produce measurements of dosage. What is the dosage for treating such and such a thing? Let us invest in research and development so that our cultures can be of value in the modern day. For museum pieces, we can have the museum pieces. You can have those ones for entertaining other people, for whatever it may be, to remember whatever it is. But let us bring in Senator Maina spoke about the kiondo as a product. Somebody in China looked at it, added a bit of science and technology, and began mass production and cooperated it, and ran away with it using synthetic fiber. Can we do that? Can we get a place for science and technology in our cultural experience so that we can modernize our experience? What our forefathers engaged with, we can modernize it the way other people of the world have done, modernize their experience, infused science and technology, mainstreamed science and technology through research and development, and came up with cultural expressions or cultural expositions of a culture that is not an invitation to the past, but one that uses the past to move into the future, to challenge the future, and to try and conquer the future. Let our culture in Kenya be a culture of satellites. Let us have a culture of trying to be modern. And trying to be modern does not mean that what our forefathers did was not modern. It was modern in their days. But today we have got concepts like modern and postmodern and stuff like that. Let us also be able to engender that kind of experience to live on earth as global citizens and mainstream a culture of production, a culture of manufacturing, a culture of value addition, a culture of proper banking. We move away from these Shylock banks and get banks that can help us invest and grow this economy. So the culture part for me is a big, big area. The bill has scratched the surface. And if it's a bill being done in the 21st century, like the way this one is being done, then it must be a bill that invites us to develop a culture that allows us to carry our weight in the global economy, in the global environment. Not a culture that invites us to look at a past that is no longer relevant in our days, other than maybe the values, but whose material experience may not be relevant today. The fabrics of the past and what have you may not be relevant today. Let us proceed forward and be able to compete for our space with the Americans, the Europeans, the Arabs, the Persians, the Chinese, the indigenous peoples across the world, and many others, so that our nation, which we pride as the cradle of mankind, can really thrive and be at par with any other country, with any other civilization. And civilizations come and go. No civilization is static. And we cannot try to argue that the Kenyan civilization is static and stuck in the post-colonial days. Kenya has a civilization of today and of tomorrow. Yesterday is gone. Let us borrow what is of value from yesterday, but let us know that the challenge to be on this earth is about today and tomorrow. And let us mainstream science, let us mainstream technology, let us invest heavily in research and development. And I would like that bill to provide for proper provisions of research and development into the past indigenous sets of knowledge and technologies, and see how we can benefit from them. If it is medical or whatever it is, let us see how we can benefit from them in the modern economy and use them like the Chinese have done and others in the Asian world have done with their indigenous knowledge, and been able to modernize even their medicine today. They package it in capsules, they package it in syrups, they package it in tablets with clear dosage. They have got clear ways of diagnosing illnesses and what have you. Let us modernize our knowledge. Let us modernize our experience. And let us create a modern Kenyan civilization that the ages who come after us will be proud of us. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the bill, and I pray that the response of the bill expands it to the modern era. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Okay. Senator Catherine Muma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to this bill. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill for this country. It seeks to implement the requirement in Article 11 on culture. And Honorable Speaker, it's a bill that is long overdue, and a bill that is seriously required, because this is one function that is shared between the national government and county government, but one that parliaments since 2013 have ignored in terms of putting in place